Well, what do we have here? An April wrap-up. I read 7 books in the month of April. That's normally on the low end for me, but I will tell you this much. In March, I found myself diving headfirst into a reading slump, and that reading slump kind of carried on into April. I feel like we're coming out of it, hopefully. So I do have 7 books to talk about, so let's talk about them. The first book that I read in April was The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. This is my second book by this author, and I absolutely loved the first book, so I had a feeling she was going to become a favorite author of mine. And then I read this book, and it solidified that, because this was also a 5-star read for me. In this book, we have the Albright family. The father of this family, it's a mother, a father, and then their daughter. The father of this family is a war veteran, and he is struggling hardcore with trauma from the war. He gets this opportunity to move his family to this like remote wilderness type town in Alaska. So he takes this opportunity and they move to Alaska. He also really despises the government. He thinks everyone is out to get him, bringing them to this little remote town. They want to kind of live off grid and grow their own food and hunt their own food and this, that, and the other, kind of form this isolated colony with the few other people that are there in this town. However, with the trauma of the war and such, he starts to really spiral. We see a lot of abuse coming from Art, both physical and mental abuse. Now, his daughter is a teenager, and she is also trying to not only get her mother to wake up and see what she's dealing with, because she's just kind of like, oh, I love him, he's okay, he's gonna get over this one day, but she's also dealing with a lot. I'm just gonna put it that way. She's dealing with a lot, and the mother's dealing with a lot. Everybody is dealing with a lot, truly. So as the book moves on and winter is settling in Alaska, the family is really put to the test in their own individual ways. So this book is quite slow. If you are one for like a fast moving plot, this ain't it, okay? This is a very character-driven, setting-driven, if you will, type book. But I will say, there is a scene in this book that will have you on the edge of your seat because it's giving survival. I was definitely hooked, okay? I don't really want to go too much more into the book because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read this. But if you have read any other Kristin Hannah book and you enjoyed it and you haven't read this one yet, this is also a good one. Did I cry while reading this? I don't think I full-fledged cried, but it's an emotional book, that is for sure. Anyway, I gave this book 5 stars, and if it sounds like something up your alley, check it out. Also, so this is again my second book by Kristin Hannah, and I feel like as I was looking at my bookshelves after reading this, that I do like historical fiction more than I thought I did. So when I think of genres and stuff that I love, historical fiction is never one that I throw out there. But I feel like a lot of books that I truly love are historical fiction. For instance, we have some Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I really love, like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. There's just a lot out there, and I'm definitely going to be, 1, picking up more Kristin Hannah books, but 2, picking up more historical fiction books in general. I am very much a character-driven reader, and so it worked for me. Okay, up next, I was really on the hunt for something that went back to my roots of what I love in books. I don't know. I was at a point where I was desperate. I was desperate to get out of this reading slump, okay? And it wasn't that nothing was hitting for me. Obviously, I had just read a 5-star book. It was the fact that I just wasn't motivated to read. I don't know how to explain it, but I also looked at last year, and I want to say about this time last year I was also in a reading slump, and I also think that it could seasonal depression could play a big role in the sense that we were coming out of winter and going into spring, and I'm like outside with my kids more. I'm spring cleaning my house. I'm just, I don't know, I'm feeling refreshed, and my mind is everywhere. I'm on a weight loss journey, so I'm also focusing on that. I just have a lot on my plate, and I feel, anyway, this isn't about me. This is about the books. So I was like, okay, I need something that's going to give Criminal Minds, that's going to give Karen Slaughter, that's going to give grit, that's going to give gore, it's going to give serial killer. And so I picked up this book, Deeper Than the Dead by Tammy Hogue, and it definitely hit the spot in all of those marks that I just listed. Okay, it takes place in like 1985. Okay, in California. The book opens up where these 4 children stumble upon a dead body, and I believe her eyes and her mouth are both glued shut. And so we do get the perspective, and we follow like these children, but we also get an FBI profiler's perspective. At this time, profiling was brand new. A lot of people were kind of against it. They didn't believe in it and that whole situation. So you're like seeing the backlash of all of that in here. Nonetheless, we also follow a teacher who was a teacher of the 4 children that found this dead body, and boy oh boy. So then shortly after that, another body shows up, and then they've also had a few bodies in the past. And so this is when they realize, okay, we are dealing with a serial killer. And so essentially that's what the book is about. There's a serial killer on the loose murdering these women. We have these traumatized children now. We have so many suspects, so many people doing really dark shit in here. It was just kind of like, some moments were a little jaw-dropping, not gonna lie. It is gritty, it is dark, it is gory, it is all the things that I truly wanted in the book at the moment. Now, this is a series. And do I want to continue? I think I am going to continue on in the series. Not like right this second, but I'm going to keep my peepers peeped to see if I can't find the second or third. Or maybe I will, you know, use my library. I think I got this one for like $1. Not kidding. At Half Price Books, because it's so sad we don't have a half price books here where I live now. In Half Price Books, I used to go there quite often, and I would just go to like the horror thriller section. I would go to like the just regular fiction section, the romance section, bring my kids to go get books out of the kids section. I would go look at some of the paperback stuff, and then I would just leave. I never really like fully looked at everything, so I had no idea that in the back of the store at the one that I go to, I would assume most Half Price Books have this. There's a clearance section. They're marked really low. And so I've gotten a few books there for like $1, and I want to say this was one of them. And that's the only reason why I picked this up. And I'm glad I did, because I really liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. I am going to check out more of her work. Probably, when was this written? This was very dated. Not like in a bad way, but you could definitely tell it was pretty dated, which is fine. Okay, so this was written in 2010. So I want to check out some of her new stuff and see where we're at with that. I mean, it felt dated because it takes place in 1985, like, let's be real. But I could tell it, like, was it written yesterday? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so 4 stars for this one. I'm just realizing that I never opened up my blinds. So if it looks like I'm filming this in the butt crack of nighttime, what? It's because I don't have my blinds open. So it's fine, we're just gonna vibe and go along with it. The next book that I have is one that I'm kind of sad about, because 1, I bought it at the new release price, and 2, I hated it. Spoiler alert. I didn't hate it. It just boiled down to being a waste of money for me because I didn't enjoy the book. Okay, it just wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And the reason why I picked this up is because I trusted someone that I follow. They had like this raving, screaming, crying from the rooftop at how amazing this book is, best book of the year, like blah, 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 blah. So I got it and I read it. And that is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I'm sorry if this is your favorite book and you absolutely loved it. Reading is subjective, and that's the beauty of it. We can have different tastes and be best friends. It's fine. So in this one, we have Evelyn. In the current life that she is in, her name is Evelyn, because she has lived multiple lives and she remembers most of them. In every life, she could be born rich, she could be born poor, she could be born a male, she could be born a female, like she doesn't know. In all of her past lives, for as long as she can remember, on her 18th birthday, she is unalived by this being named Arden. Like, their fates are intertwined, and she doesn't know why. She has a little sister who is ill, and her sister needs her in order to live. And so Evelyn's like, I'm not dying in this lifetime. We're gonna figure this out so I could save my sister. And so she is out there trying to find Arden. Now remember, I said Evelyn, like in every lifetime, she could be born different. Like it doesn't matter what her body looks like, it's just her spirit. I don't know. Same with Arden. So like this lifetime, it could be a girl, it could be a guy. She doesn't know. All that she knows is they have the same birthday, and that this Arden person is out to kill her. So she is highly suspicious of everybody. The girl that works at the bookshop, the guy that's always there, like she's highly suspicious of everyone, and she needs to find him so she can stop him before he kills her. Sounds good. We do get a lot of the current timeline, and then we do get bits and pieces of the past timelines. The romance in this book, I couldn't root for it because we never saw enough in any timeline to believe that it was rooted that deep. It was just a drag. This is it. Like, this is what we're doing? Like, what? Maybe because it is probably YA. I believe this is a YA book. $20. It's got to be YA, because if this was an adult, it would probably be like $29. Crazy how that works. I gave it 2 stars because I didn't care for it. Didn't care for the characters. I didn't give a single fuck about this book. So 2 stars. And it then slipped me back into my reading slump even more. So then I think I go like a week or 2 without reading anything. And to force myself to pick something up, I decided, okay, let's film our Stephen King reading vlog, the first of many. So I chose the first 3 Stephen King books that I had that were in publication order. I think I'm missing the Bachman books, like I'm missing that. So I read Carrie first. We'll talk about that really quick. So I also have an entire reading vlog. It is spoiler free of the 3 books that I'm fixing to mention. If you haven't watched it yet, I will link it down in the description box below. But again, it is spoiler free. If you just want to hear more like detail of the books and more of my opinions of the books and things like that, you can check it out. But the first one was Carrie. This is Stephen King's first published novel, so this is first in my lineup. I feel like I've said this in every video that I have posted in the past few months, but I am currently starting over in my Stephen King journey and reading all of his work in publication order. That's why, okay, and I'm vlogging the whole thing. And next up is, I believe, The Stand, and I think that's going to be a vlog in itself with just the one book, because it's a beefy bitch. So that's something to look forward to in the month of May if you are a Stephen King fan. Okay, but let's talk about Carrie. So really quick, this follows a 16-year-old girl named Carrie White, who is not only extremely awkward and bullied at school, but she was also raised pretty sheltered, like to the extreme, to the point where she doesn't even know what a period is. She thinks that having sex is a sin, having boobies, you get boobies because you've sinned, things like that. Like, her mother is a little cuckoo. Essentially, Carrie has telekinesis powers. She can move things with her mind. Now, she's been able to do this for a long time. However, on this day, when the book opens up in high school, in the gym class, in the showers, she starts her period. She has no idea what a period is. It's like, this is written back in a back day. No Google, no cell phones, none of that kind of stuff. She doesn't have any friends. Her mother is psycho. Like, she doesn't know what a period is. The period, her coming into her period, also brings on more powerful telekinesis powers, okay? From this day forward, shit starts hitting the fan. Things get a little crazy at school, crazy at home. Blood is poured, blood is shed. Okay? So, yeah. This is also like those types of books that have multimedia in them. Like, it is told in the traditional sense of whatever, but we get like newspaper clippings, we get interviews and radio station, things like that intertwined into here, which was it was a treat, and I feel like it really put the cherry on top for this book, okay? Now, I will tell you this, on Goodreads, I gave it a 4. It's probably more of like a 4.5. This was a reread for me. I enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first time. You know what? Sometimes, if you're being a little bitch to people, you get what you deserve. That's all I'm gonna say. Right, up next, I read Salem's Lot by Stephen King. The day that I picked it up and as I started reading it, I always wondered if this book took place in a place called Jerusalem's Lot, why is the book called Salem's Lot? That's very confusing. And then it snapped. Salem is short for Jerusalem. Yeah, I don't know why Stephen King didn't just title the book Jerusalem's Lot, but it is what it is. Okay. So this book is Stephen King's vampire book. Boy, oh boy, was it a treat to dive into. Okay, this was the first time that I read this one. It follows a guy named Ben, and Ben is a writer. And Ben is also coming out of a divorce. No, he's not a divorce. What? His wife died. It's even worse, okay? His wife, it's not funny. Stop fucking laughing. His wife died. It's some serious shit. And he's like trying to get over that. He decides to move back to Jerusalem's Lot, where a long time ago when he was a little kid, something really terrifying happened in a house back in Jerusalem's Lot. And so he wants to go back there, just kind of get a fresh start, you know, some place that kind of feels like home to him. And that's the place that does. And he decides he's going to go there and he's going to write a book about what happened in that house. So he goes down there, lo and behold, the house that he wanted to rent, you know, the same house from his childhood, has already been bought by these two older gentlemen, aka the vampires. Shortly after he gets there, he discovers that strange things are beginning to happen. The town is acting weird, people are dying off, something's going on. And it's kind of like him trying to figure it out to him thinking he knows exactly what it is, and vampires are on the loose. So he gets a few other people in the town to go along with him to defeat the evil. Let me just tell you something. When I was reading this book, it hardcore gives you like those 80s movies vibes. Hardcore. Like I wanted, as I was reading this, I kept wanting to put it down to go binge watch 80s movies. I don't know what it was. Probably because this book was written in the 70s. I don't know. It just gave me that vibe. And I really like that. Anyway, if you love books that take place in small towns, that have like character rich stories, that have the old traditional vampire horror, because Stephen King was influenced by our traditional story of Dracula. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to go into this one and have a vampire with abs. Okay, trying to eat your coochie cooch on your period. That's not gonna happen. I will say, if you are not a fan of slow burn books, I wouldn't pick this up. There's also some really horrible things that happen, especially to children in this book. It is horror. It is supposed to be horrific. But if you like the books that I like to read, you're gonna like this one. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, let's talk about The Shining by Stephen King. This was the second time that I read this book, and not that it matters, but I'm still gonna say it. I enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first time. You know, I feel like I picked up a lot more the second time I read it than when I read it the first time. Anyway. So this book, we follow a guy named Jack Torrance. Jack is a father and a husband, a father to Danny and a husband to Wendy. He is a struggling writer. He is currently writing a play, and he is also an alcoholic trying to overcome being an alcoholic, I guess you would say. He just needs a fresh start, him and his whole family. And he needs a job, truly. So he gets a job being like this hotel's caretaker, I guess you would say, during its off season in the Colorado mountains or some shit, and it's called the Overlook Hotel. So they move in to this hotel hoping to, like, you know, get a fresh start, get some peace, some inspiration, whatever. And then the hotel's history starts to show itself, along with some other supernatural things going on. And then all of that, we also have Danny. And Danny has this thing called The Shining. And it's like a psychic ability, if you will. That's all I'm going to say. I feel like you should read it. But I did give this 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. And then I gave it 5 stars the second time I read it. Well, I guess I could tell you The Shining is a slow burn horror book. So again, if you're not a fan of like slow burn books, you know, but if you're a fan of just horror in general, it's a classic, and it's definitely one to be read, I think. Last book, we're taking a way away. We're taking a turn. Okay, it's complete opposite of what I just talked about. The last book that I read in the month of April was Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in the Rose Hill series. There's gonna be one more book. It comes out in September, and then that series is wrapped up. The series itself is kind of like an interconnected series in the sense that each book follows a different dude in this bowling league team. Each of the dudes are a dad in some sort of way. So in this one, our dude, his name is Reese. He's technically not a dad, but he owns this duplex, and the person who rents the other one, like, you know what a duplex is, it's like a house but it's two houses combined. Okay, Reese was living in one side of it, and he rented out the other side to a girl named Erica. Erica now has a baby. Erica was also a struggling drug addict, trying to overcome that and trying to make the best for her and her child. Reese was there, and he helped her along the way because that's just the type of guy that he is, okay? I think she lived there for like 2 years before Erica passes away because she relapsed. In her will, she leaves her son to Reese. They're not even kin. He was just her landlord. / he also took care of the little boy a lot, like babysat him and stuff for Erica. Anyway, so Erica's sister enters in the picture, and Erica's sister wants custody of Milo, the little boy, but because Erica left Milo to Reese, there's a problem there. Another problem is, what is the girl's name? The main girl. Oh my gosh, Tabitha. Tabitha and her family live in Canada. Okay, that's where that little duplex was, in Canada. Reese is not a Canadian. He's an American. He just like has an off season, like when he's downtime from his work, he goes and he stays in Canada for a little bit just to kind of like get a breath of fresh air, I guess you would say. They spark up this deal where like that he goes and visits her. He lets Milo stay with her, but he likes to go and visit her a lot so he can still see Milo and whatever until they can figure it out. Then the people at the border are like, okay, that you can't be visiting Canada this often. You're gonna have to stop. You're ruining the welcome mat at this point. So then him and Tabitha strike up this thing where they get married. They get married right then and there. And so everything's fine. And I feel like, shouldn't they be like, I don't know. I felt like it was too like convenient, but whatever. Nobody ever looked into it or whatever. Like all of a sudden he's getting married to this chick. They fall in love. I mean, obviously it's a romance book. Come on now. I did not feel any chemistry between these two characters. And I feel like this series is just not a series for me. And I am going to pick up the fourth book because I have all three of them with little mountains on the spine, and I'm just missing the fourth one. And then one day if I decide to sell them because I have the ones with the mountains on the spine, they're going to be worth a little bit more money, and that's just how it's going to be. See, the thing is like the first book, I didn't really care for the female main character. She was very childish, and also the guy was like one of the richest people in fucking Canada, I guess you would say. I don't know, like just from building an app. So it was just kind of unbelievable. And then the girl like ruined perfectly wooden floor with paint. Like, fucking grow up. And I think I gave it 3 stars. Then in the second book, our main female character is also a rich person. She's a celebrity, a very like popular pop star that or country star, whatever the fuck, that everybody knows, and you know, paparazzi's after her and this, that, and the other, and like she goes to work with a guy from the book 1 and then falls in love with the girl from book 1's brother, and it's just like, and now she's living a small town life, no longer a celebrity. But the cringiest part about that book is her actually singing to the fucking guy in the book. And I didn't do the audiobook, I read it physically, and it was still cringy to me. I don't, whatever, anyway. So then in this book we have Reese, who's the rich one, because he's a fucking pro wrestler. Just kind of cringy. The whole, to me it's just cringy and not my vibe. And I read it, and it's fine. And I was hoping to feel something, and I felt nothing. I was just ready for this shit to end. How many pages is this? Because I felt like, okay, it's like a 440 some odd pages. I was ready for this shit to be done. I was like, damn, I should have got the audiobook so I could have fast forwarded that shit. And that's what I read in the month of April, and now it's May. That is this, and this is that. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will be back shortly with another video, of course. That was cringy. Anyway. Okay, girl, bye.